Namaskaram. AVP Research brings to you IO series third on COVID-19 epidemic. Denial dignity in death of a neurosurgeon at Chennai and the death of a 2-year-old kid because she had to walk whole 3 days to reach her house makes COVID-19 still the scare of the world. While India crosses the 20,000 mark of active cases and death rate near 650. And today we bring to you the pathophysiology understanding of COVID-19. We have the panelists here. We have Dr. Somit, Director to AVP Research Foundation, Sujit, Assistant Director to AVP Research Foundation. We have Dr. Keshavan, Deputy Chief Medical Officer of AVP ABCR, Ayurveda Chikitsalayam, and we have Dr. Rahul, Research Associate to Research Foundation. So the topic today is pathophysiology understanding of COVID-19. So the first question, let me take it to Dr. Rahul. Dr. Rahul, we see the changes in the symptomatology and also incubation period if we track from December 29th. So incubation period was understood to be 14 days and later it has come till day 30. So can you just brief the whole course of changes in the symptomatology and also the incubation period of COVID-19?
Yes, Chaitanya. So now in India, we are going through the 29th day of the lockdown here. So we are back from the December 30th, where the SARS-CoV virus started in the Wuhan district in China in December 13th. So from that onwards, WHO and the CDC America, then ICMR. Of course, the ICMR is now, for the past 1 month, they are under vigorous research how we can prevent this pandemic. And the most research advances are also, in Kerala also, our health department is also under a vigilant observation of this disease. So we can have a series of changes. Of course, there are certain fake news coming. We can avoid those fake news and depend or rely upon the government and the research articles that come out all the way out through the 5 months. So when looking into the first stage of this COVID, WHO had classified into the severity of the disease according to 3 categories mainly. So the first category falls under the 14% of the peoples that develop severe disease requiring hospitalization and the oxygen support. Only 14% of the total population which falls under the COVID-19. Then the 5% need the admission to the intensive care unit, ICU. And in that also they divided into 2 categories. That is the complicated patients by ARDS, sepsis, and septic shock. And then and one more multi-organ failure patients like kidney failure or the cardiac injury patients also form to the 5%. Then of course, the second is the old age people. Definitely, we have seen that the above 60 patients, they need the attention of the health seeker, attention because they are in a stage of developing the severity of the disease very fast. So this is the primary classification of this COVID-19 by WHO. Then they have gone for a like the symptomatology, they have gone in deeper. So in that clinical presentation, these are the clinical presentation that are identified like fever that constitute 83 to 99% of the total people affected by COVID. Fever is the main symptom. 83 to 99% is the percentage. Then comes the fatigue, 44 to 70%. Then shortness of, then cough, 59 to 82%. Then shortness of breath, 31 to 40%. And myalgia constituting 11 to 35%. And sputum production that leading to a 28 to 33%. These are the main clinical presentation that comes through the advanced stages of they have identified all these clinical presentations in the advanced stages of COVID, or the recent studies reveal these are the clinical presentations. So these are coming to the point of incubation period. So at the first, it was 14 days and the median time was 4 to 5 days for the presentation of the clinical symptoms. So one study in America reported that 97.5% of the persons with COVID-19 who develop symptoms will do so within the 11.5 days of the infection. That is a study in America which constitutes 97.5% of the population is showing symptoms within 11.5 days. So coming to the recent advances by ICMR, it states that it is a study revealed yesterday. So in that, ICMR reveals that 80% of the patients are without symptoms. And in that 80%, the age category is falling under 20 to 45 years of age group, and some patients that are taking some medicine intake. So these are two factors that comes in constituting the 80% of the patients without symptoms. And in that also, if we go deeper into the state-wise in India, 50 to 80% of the patients are asymptomatic according to reports from different states. So these, of course, they are saying that the patients with the less immunity are falling under showing the disease in the incubation period, that is 1 to 14 days, and the median time is 4 to 5 days. Only the people with less immunity are showing the symptoms. And one recent advances in this showing of the symptoms after 28 days is a test, that is our we are doing the PCR test and the antibody test. If the IgM alone is present, IgM antibodies alone is present, the patient is infectious. It reveals that the patient is infectious. Only if the IgG antibody is present, it shows that the patient, or the IgM and IgG are present, it shows that the patient is in a conversion period only. That means the patient is no more infectious. So these are the two recent advances that related with the 28 days. Like 14 days was the first incubation, then it comes to the 28 days. Even after 28 days of period, the patient is showing symptoms. So this is in relation with this 28 days of incubation period. So one more thing, recent advances in the research of comparing with the COVID-19 is that why it do not affect India more. In India also now the 19% of the 20,000 people are infected. Till our death rate is very slow. Why? So as we know, the Spain, Italy, and America is the first in category of death when we go compared to the COVID-19. When this death, when in death of America, Spain, and Italy compared with India, India have a less ratio. Why it is so? So in a discussion with a doctor in Srijitra Institute in Kerala, they have a comparative study between the Italy and India population. So we know that above 60 is a vulnerable category in the COVID-19 disease. So in that, they make a population study, because we are doing the reverse isolation or reverse quarantine. We are separating the people. We are limiting the people in their homes or in the isolation wards or quarantine wards to get not to get infected. So this is the reverse isolation or reverse quarantine part. In that, the vulnerable category is the age group of above 60. So in Italy, the age structure is like that: 60 to 70 age group category falls under, constitute the 12% of the population in Italy. But in India, it is 6% only, 60 to 70 age group. And 70 to 80, in Italy, it is 9.8%, while in India, it is only 2.7%. And above 80, in Italy, it is 7.3% of population, but in India, it is only 0.96. So this is the one factor that reduces our death ratio compared to the other countries. And one recent advances and one recent news that WHO reveals in the morning is that the coronavirus is spread from the bat only, not from any lab or something. It is spread from the bat. Now only they reveals that WHO, now just in the morning, the news revealed that it is coming from the bat. So these are all the recent advances that we have seen in this COVID-19 disease. Chaitanya.
Thank you so much, Rahul. That was quite deep enough. May I come to Sujit sir? As a microbiologist, sir, this uninvited guest, what does it do inside the body, which brings about all these symptoms? So, as a microbiologist, what is your viewpoint into the symptoms and how it is the course of whole getting inside the body, the symptoms that it brings, taking into the sepsis and the septic shock stages? What is your take in the understanding of the pathophysiology inside the body?
see, rather going into the pathophysiology of the whole thing, I would like to discuss on the structure of the virus, which actually initiates the particular pathophysiology. So, to begin with, this SARS-CoV-2 is the name of the virus which actually causes COVID-19. So, the name of the disease is COVID-19. The name of the virus is SARS-CoV-2. Just like HIV is the name of the virus and the name of the disease is AIDS. This particular virus basically belongs to the corona group of viruses, which is again divided into alpha, beta, gamma, and delta, wherein the alpha and beta group of viruses are basically those which affect the mammals, and the gamma and delta are basically which is affected on the birds. And our concern right now is the coronavirus, which causes COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2, which basically belongs to the beta coronavirus family. This beta coronavirus family itself is further divided into A, B, C, and D. And this particular virus which we are concerned now belongs to the B. The structure of the families B, C, and D is almost similar, only A out of this beta family differs slightly. So the pathophysiology of this group of coronavirus, beta coronavirus, B, C, and D are very similar. Now, when we look into the structure, as you all know, it's a single-stranded RNA virus, which we have come across. The virus contains RNA as a genetic material and it is covered with a protein coat. The protein coat and the DNA, RNA, the genetic content in it also is surrounded with certain proteins. These are the proteins which help the virus in actually infecting and then replicating itself and multiplying inside the body. The first concern is the protein that actually facilitates the attachment of the virus to the our cell surfaces. There is a protein which is called as S protein. S protein means a spike protein. The spike protein is found throughout the surface of the organism or the virus. It is a small one, triangular shaped, and from a vertical point of view in the electron microscope, it appears circular. The triangular portion, the smaller portion is attached to the virus, and the bigger, broader portion has a wider area which can actually attach to the receptors in the body. And the receptor has been recognized as ACE2. Here, this is the spike protein, which is the favorite target for many of the researchers now, either to prevent it by attaching or to develop the vaccine. Apart from this S protein, on the membrane of the protein coat, as we say, the membrane itself is made up of a fatty layer. And this is the reason why soap can easily kill the virus. This fatty layer dissolves in soap easily, so that the whole virus gets disintegrated, and that is why soap has become a very efficient preventive measure. In this coat, along with the fatty layer, we have two proteins which is called as E protein and the M protein. M protein is the membrane protein and E protein is the envelope protein. These are the two proteins basically help in attaching the virus once invaded into the Golgi apparatus and help in the ribosome for the replication to really happen. And when the replication is happening, these two proteins also facilitates in reassembling of the cell when the cell also get induced with the apoptosis and releases more number of viruses. And one another protein which is left out of all this is the nucleocapsid protein. This nucleocapsid protein is something which is helping in rearranging the RNA while the packing of the virus happens, and this is how the release of viruses and the whole replication, the actual structural components of the virus, and also how the structural components contribute to the whole replication process. So these proteins and these structures are the reasons for the pathophysiology it expressed, and also the probable research areas which can actually bring in more light in understanding how to deal the organism as such. Chaitanya.
Thank you so much, Sujit sir. Coming to you, Keshavan sir. What do you think is the probable pathophysiology or samprapti in our terms in understanding COVID-19? Keeping in mind all the signs and symptoms, incubation period, everything, how do you frame the samprapti, or how is the understanding from a management perspective should this COVID-19 be understood as?
When see, in appreciating Ayurvedic Samprapti, there are a lot of modern information which we have to make use of. So, keeping in the modern perspective of the Nidana of a particular disease, in this case, a virus being the causative factor. So, the concept of Agantuja Vyadhi is relevant to COVID-19. But the Samprapti of COVID-19, when you look in terms of Ayurveda, has to be taken in perspective of a combination of Vyadhis, combination of Vyadhis in terms of Samprapti. So there is no fixed Samprapti which can be attributed to the COVID symptoms. And even in the management, like we can have a generalized set of protocol in managing COVID, but there cannot be a specific set of protocol in Ayurveda. It doesn't work out according to the Ayurvedic Siddhanta. So the management should be very specific to the symptoms the patient presents. Maybe the Samprapti part, how it works out, I think Dr. Somit will be in a better position to help us understand the pathophysiology of COVID-19 according to the Ayurvedic perspective.
We goes to him the next.
Acha, because what I can tell is the management perspective of COVID-19, the flexibility part is very important. So as you know, even when we did the study with the NIH regarding the rheumatoid arthritis, it was not with one set of medicine or one set of formulation. It was a combination of different medicines. So the Ayurvedic management should be flexible, and as the Acharya says, dosha eva hi sarvesham roganam eka, the samuthana visheshata. Depending on the roga marga, depending on the adhishthana, vyaktasthana, the treatment has to be depending on the dosha prabhalya and the vyadhi prabhalya. So as Rahul was telling, 80 to 85% of people with COVID are asymptomatic, and 10-15% of patients who have active symptoms, they need active treatment. So in that 10-15%, when you look at the symptomatology, the treatment has to be based on the pradhana lakshana and the roga bala of the patient, the roga bala of the patient. So you have a jara based symptomatology with underlining cough, dry cough, cold and breathing difficulty. The line of treatment should be more jara pradhana chikitsa. If a lot of patients don't have any fever symptomatology, but they have only a simple dry cough or a headache or a body pain, it should be according to the kasa chikitsa, what you call as vata kasa chikitsa. You have dry cough coming out, so pitta kase tanu kafe they say. So such kind of treatment management has to be. So it has to be more of a individualized subjective treatment based on the dosha prabhalya and the vyadhi prabhalya. So you have a jara condition with anubandha of kasa shwasa. it has to be treated accordingly. You have medicines like Indugantam Kashayam, you have Kashayams like Darunagaradi Kashayam, you have higher spectrum Kashayams like Bharangyadi Kashayam. So depending on those symptoms, such Kashayams have to be used. If the Shwasa condition is more prevalent, you have to manage it by Shwasa Pradhana Chikitsa with underlining Anubandha Chikitsa of other conditions. So one thing what I would like to highlight is the treatment perspective of managing COVID depends on the underlying comorbidities a aged patient has. When you're treating aged patient, the whole perspective of treating undergoes a drastic change. So when you're looking at aged population with underlying long-term illnesses like diabetes, cardiac issues, the whole preventive, protective and curative level of management is very important, very important. So when you look at most of the cases throughout the world, the aged population with long-term comorbidities are maximum susceptible for mortality. So that is one thing we have to keep in mind. So when we are looking at aged population, we have to always, according to Ayurveda, we have to plan one step ahead. While it is not only enough to just manage the symptomatology, we have to always keep a window open in the sense that there are chances of these people going to the next level of illness or next level of complication, which may be pneumonia kind of thing, which are very risky. So when you are treating such cases, we have to have a window open where, along with managing the presenting symptoms, we have to give something which can prevent the disease going to the next level. So that kind of management also is very important. Asymptomatic patients we have who are COVID positive, the management all depends on, you have to look at the age factor, we have to look at the Roga Bala, Rogi Bala. The Roga Bala is very mild, so they are asymptomatic. In such cases, if the Agni is very good, simple what you known as Rasayana Chikitsa is good enough. The Agni Bala has to be very good. So simple Induganta Ghritam, Chavana Prasham, Kushmanda Rasayanam, Agastya Rasayanam, such kind of Rasayanams can be used in asymptomatic patients whose Agni Bala is very good. So, and 80% of the time the body will try to resolve the condition by itself. Only in the 10-15% patients who have such issues, we have to look at the Roga Pradhanya, Anubandha Roga Pradhanya, Dosha Pradhana, Anubandha Dosha Pradhana. These criteria have to be looked, and accordingly the medications has to be given.
So what do you think about the patient in their incubation period? So what do you think about
it? According to Ayurveda, incubation period, what Rahul was telling, the generalized theory is it is usually 14 days, but incubation can undergo change. See, every rule has an exception, and similarly the incubation, unless and until it is proven otherwise, if it extends in few cases, few percentage of cases, so that is an acceptable anomaly. So I don't think we have a set international protocol where 14 days is the incubation time. That is what we have to follow. And few cases there may be some changes that we have to wait and see.
So any medications that you would suggest during this incubation period?
I don't think so. There is nothing like incubation. It all depends on Nidana Parivarchanam is the first line of treatment. So you have to be careful. You have to follow the social distancing. But the general Rasayana treatments like Chavana Prasham, Induganta Ghritam, Kushmanda Rasayanams, that can be in generally consumed for people to have some preventive or a protective value. So the line of treatment for the general population and to some extent the asymptomatic group of COVID patients is very much the same. There is no much of a change until you have specific symptoms. And we don't know, see, every patient, the symptomatology is different. Not each and every patient will have fever, and you don't know how the disease progresses in a particular patient. Some patient, it may progress only with a dry cough or a headache. For some patients, it may be fever. Some patients, they may be respiratory distress. So it is very difficult to pinpoint and give specific medicines for asymptomatic patients. Asymptomatic patients, we have to be more on the general side, giving more of preventive and protective medications. Like in Ayurveda, we say Rasayana Chikitsa. That helps a lot.
Thank you, sir. Coming to